Let's get it. Let's go. We are back with a unbelievable author and guest, the author of the book Redesign: How to Create Success on Your Own Terms. Andrea Merican is in the house today. Andrea, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Jake. I am thrilled to be here.
I am thrilled for you to be here. This is going to be a good time. So, here's where I want to begin. You wrote a book called Redesign, okay? And what triggered you to create a book called Redesign, and why did you decide to ultimately write one?
I think it really stemmed from my having to redesign my own life so many times over 3 decades of being an entrepreneur. As any entrepreneur knows, it's a constant reinvention of yourself. And I just thought, man, if I could save one person some
Hmm.
of the pain or heartache or time that I went through by sharing some of those tools and strategies that helped me redesign my life and my journey, that would be a worthy goal.
That's amazing. And as you were writing the book, okay, because we see this with a lot of people that as they're writing the book, things evolve, things shift, things grow. For someone like you who's had to redesign their own life several times, did you find yourself redesigning or even up leveling the book from where you started to where it ended up finishing?
Yes, definitely. Originally, I started the first words on the page back in 2020 during the pandemic, and I called the book Shift because life was shifting all around us. And I knew I wasn't married to that title, that I would let that evolve as well. But yeah, the content stayed pretty much the same overall, but I definitely introduced new chapters and way more tools for the
Mm.
reader that I'm very excited about.
That's a really important thing to note, and a lot of people that we work with, there's a vision that they have previously of this is what I think it really needs to be, and then there's the finished product.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it where the finished product is anything other than what it was supposed to be. You just
Mm.
need the guidance to get there, right? And that's exactly what you found through the Big Idea to Bestseller Elevate program. So can you tell us a little bit when you began this journey with our team? What were some of the hesitations, the concerns, the worries that you had as you were embarking on your book adventure?
Totally. I can still remember. So I came in with practically a full manuscript, which is very rare. Most art authors don't have that. And I remember when I had to send it off to you guys, I was like, I had a pit in my stomach because I thought someone's going to read this. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So that was number one for sure.
Awesome. And so talk to me about the book a little bit, right? When we look at this book, I mean, Redesign, and we go in here, and I'm not going to flip to a page and just call you out randomly, but talk me through this. When you're talking about creating success on your own terms, what does that mean? What's included? What are some of the things that we can expect to learn in the book?
Awesome. Yeah, so much of this, when I describe it to people, I'm like, it's very foundational. It starts out with mindset, which has been one of the biggest shifts that I have had to learn, and I still have to practice it daily. And then we dive into things like our values and our purpose, and then all the building blocks of habits and goal setting and time management. So they all just keep building upon each other.
Hmm.
And that's really how I write so that the reader is getting the most value out of it to apply to anything they're going through, whether they're a business owner or they just want to level up their life in some way. And then the
Hmm.
fun part is that my life is woven through the chapters. So I am able to hopefully connect with the reader with my sometimes funny, sometimes sad stories all
Sure.
along my path.
Sure. When you write this book, and obviously the word success comes up a lot, right?
Mhm.
One of my favorite questions that I've ever asked somebody, and when I was on the up and up early in my entrepreneurial career, and when I wrote my third book, one of my favorite questions to ask was, "What is your definition of success?" And so I would love to know for you, who wrote a book on creating success on your own term, how do you actually define what success means in your own life?
So perfect. I'm so glad you actually asked that because I asked that in the book as well. I have always been a person who doesn't really conform to, let's say, society's definition of it. For me, success is it's so ingrained in my two passions for time freedom and just really being able to live the life that I want to live. So it's not a dollar amount, which I think our society usually says, oh, it's when you're made $1 million or you made $10 million. For me, it's getting to wake up in the morning and plan my day the way I want and schedule meetings around my schedule and go on amazing trips and travel when I want to. For me, that really is the pinnacle of success. You do have to have the financial stuff in there because that supports it. But I think it's so much different rather than chasing a status or a popularity or a dollar or a possession. It's really what makes you feel good about your day and your
Yeah.
life and feel satisfied.
Yeah. Okay. So I love that answer, and I think it's beautiful frame and a beautiful segue into what I think I'm curious about even further is how do you, and you could do this with or without the book, but how do you consistently enjoy the journey while in the pursuit of this definition of success? Because no matter what you define success as, whether it's the financial, the status, or the freedom, or the time, or whatever it is, there's still a pursuit to achieve that, no matter which way you're looking at it, entrepreneurs, corporate, whatever. So, how do you personally find ways to enjoy the journey in the pursuit of your own definition of success?
Amazing, amazing observation. I will confess, some days I don't. Some days I want it now and I'm frustrated, but I really do make it very intentional that I stop and smell the roses, so to speak. I enjoy a sunset. I enjoy a bike ride. I enjoy a trip to a beautiful place. When it's pretty weather out, I'll sit outside and read a book. Like I truly try to savor the little things in life, the moments along the way. And my second thing I do is I celebrate every mini accomplishment because that really helps me stay on track and keep going, especially when it's a big, big part of your journey or your goal and you're like, I'm never getting there. Celebrate those little ones along the way. That helps me a lot.
I love that savoring and celebration. I think those are two important things, and I'm actually writing that down. But something that I found to work with me because I'm a very high achiever, high energy, go 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 type of person. That's just who I am. And for a lot of the pros that come with that type of personality and energy, there's also the drawback of always focusing on the next thing, always focusing on the achievement, always focusing on, well, I'm going to get here. And I've spent a lot of my time really trying to figure out how do I be present in that pursuit? How can I grind as hard as I want and be future thinking, but also be present minded, right? Yeah. And I love what you said about savoring. I love what you said about celebration. For me, a big component of this that I try to incorporate in is that gratitude piece. And
Yeah.
and I'll be the first to say, like, and I've said this before on other episodes that I've done, it's just like when I first heard gratitude and like doing a gratitude walk and, being grateful for things that you can just see, I was like, this is garbage, like this is stupid. Like, cool, it's a tree. But when I stopped trying to let my ego drive my achievements, and I started letting like me as a human really be present, I found that my nature walks, my gratitude for the little things, my just focusing on what could I appreciate now, it just immediately grounded me and rooted me. So have you found gratitude to be a practice that you implement when defining success on your own terms?
Oh my gosh, gratitude is huge. Literally I start every single day with my quiet time, and part of that quiet time is gratitude. And I literally go through every single thing in my whole entire life. Sometimes the couch that I'm sitting on, I'm grateful for, or the hot cup of coffee that I'm grateful for, all of it. And I really, man, it just does. It roots you in the present and to just get that perspective that we as high achievers need. I mean, we sometimes need to take a breath and calm down and go, wow, I really have so much. I'm so blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And to really just take that moment
Yeah.
to remember that, I think daily is key.
Yeah, and I think like when you take it one step further, right? It's if you can be future minded or future thinking, present minded, right? And then there's also the reflection component, right?
Yeah.
There's also the looking back to look forward, not looking back to relive necessarily, but looking back to, you know, trigger the next wave. And so for you, as you look back on your book journey,
Mhm.
now you're here, right? You got the book, it's amazing, it's starting to do things, and we'll talk about that. Looking back on your journey and the evolution that you had from when you first started it called Shift in 2020 for the
Yeah.
several years you kind of worked on it here and there to then when you worked with Big Idea Bestseller and got your book done very quickly, what advice would you give to somebody who's considering the book writing process for their growth or their business?
Oh, love it. Yes. The biggest thing I would say is get all your ideas and all your words and capture them first into the mess. It doesn't matter, and don't edit it and don't stress about it. To me, that was my biggest leap, that just doing it helped me so, so much. And then when I got to start with your team, that's when we started sorting it out and making it make sense and
Mm.
turning it into what it is, which I'm so proud of and so excited to actually have in my hands. But yeah, just does it. I think a lot of us get caught up in the, oh, it doesn't sound right, and I'm not a writer. And I'm like, I really wasn't a writer either, but you are an author, and getting your story and your words just on the page, as messy as they can be, it will refine itself through your team along the way.
I love what you just said because that is something so powerful, and I'm jotting that down as well. As like a lot of people don't think they're writers, you know, and I'm guilty of this too. Like I said for my first two books, I'm not a writer. I
Yeah.
just am someone who shares a message in the form of a book,
Yes.
right? And the way you framed it, I may not, you didn't associate yourself as a writer, but you did associate and assume the identity of an author.
Yes.
And really, that's even more powerful than anything when you're writing a book for back end growth, back end opportunity, credibility, business growth, lead generation, speaking gigs, coaching, whatever it is. Because you're really an author, right? You're an authority more than you are a writer. It's called a best selling book, not a best written book, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so I love that for you. Now, I want to talk about your launch. I want to talk about the emotions that come with a launch because this to me is like one of everybody's favorite parts of the process. It's the
Yeah.
most stressful, the most holy shit, it's real moments to the euphoria of like watching the rankings reload every second, even though you know it's going to take several hours, right? So talk to us about what was your launch experience like? What did you do for your launch? And tell us a little bit about that.
Awesome. Yeah, I was extremely invested in the process. I planned for months my email campaigns, my social media. So I had worked on that slowly over time. So I had it mostly there. And then the week before launch, I dialed everything in, tightened it up how I wanted it. And then things I could schedule, I scheduled. And then there was things that I did in the moment. The day of launch was unreal. I was so giddy. I told everyone, I'm like, I feel like it's my birthday today.
Yeah.
I emailed over 1,400 people that I had from two mailing lists. I did social media posts, I mean, up to the launch a ton, and then the day of just an onslaught. And then I texted over 125 people, I think. And that was huge. I also, this is a tip for anyone who's considering doing it. I texted them about 3 weeks prior to say, save the date. And then I texted them with the actual link on the day of. So they were teed up and ready. So they weren't like, why are you texting me? So people were ready to go. And I honestly think that helped a ton with the success.
And what happened? Like that's some great prep work, and you know it's beautiful to see you listen and follow the strategies, and then add your own flair to it. What was what were the results? What
Oh, yeah.
happened?
Huge. I mean, I think over 100 books sold on the day. And I hit bestseller in 5 different categories, which was totally, I was so excited. I had no idea. And then, yeah, the people that would tag me on social or text me back, I bought it, I just got it. And then the reviews started coming in. It just, yeah, it was totally worth every minute of it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Has there been anything unexpected since your release of the book? Has there been anything, and it's still fairly fresh, right? It's still pretty
Very
new.
new still.
But has there been anything unexpected either since you started this process or since you launched the book that maybe you didn't expect to happen, but it's happened?
Yeah, I think on a personal level, the people that have reached out that have said, "Oh my gosh, I'm on page such and such, and this spoke to me so much, and I never knew this, or it literally changed how I thought about this." I also had a dear friend who read the book in one night, and then I did have a fun little party, a celebration the week of launch on that Friday. And he literally walked in and was like, "This was the second half of this book was for me." And I'm like, "What?" Like, it just was so cool. And that was my initial hope, was why write a book? To touch people's lives, to help them in some way, right? Like, that's, you don't want it just to sit on a shelf and no one reads it, but to have people's lives truly impacted, that was my hope. And the fact that that's happening is just amazing.
Mm, I love to hear that. So let's talk a little bit more about the book, okay? When someone you mentioned that this book is really a foundational book and it gets people to where they need to be, and you start off with mindset.
Mhm.
Walk us through some of the things that you kind of talk about related to mindset and why you put mindset first when defining success versus at the end after strategy or things that are tactical.
Sure. I think for me, and I tell my people all the time, I'm like, mindset's a battle that I still fight every day. I can go down the drain like anybody else with negativity. It's just easy to happen. I think if you're an entrepreneur, it's even tougher. I mean, circumstances happen, businesses fail, whatever. And we're humans, right? Like, it's so easy to just get discouraged and go, "Why am I doing this? I'm going to give up." I mean, even with writing a book, I asked myself that at one point: why am I doing this? Do I still want to do this? And the strategies and tools I put in every chapter, when I teach anything like mindset or any other topic, I put multiple tools and strategies, because there's no such thing as one size fits all. And I hope that the reader, it might spark something where they're like,
Mm.
"Oh, I never thought about it that way." So mindset can have, watching your thoughts or watching your words or spending time with the positive people or reducing negative input. It can mean so many things. So I step you through like so many options so that maybe one will spark in a way that it hasn't before.
Yeah. And in your book you have all these different sections, right? You have finances, you have health, you have goal setting, purpose, values. Obviously, as you just mentioned, it's not a one size fits all. Everyone who reads this is going to pick something different that resonates with them most based on what they need at that given moment.
Right.
If you had to think about people as a whole, the readers of this book, the listeners of this show, and you had to describe like one word that somebody needs to embody in order to be able to successfully redesign their life and create success on their own terms, what do you think is that one word or that one characteristic or that one trait that someone needs to be able to possess in order to make this thing happen?
Grit. Yeah, I've
Tell me
never been asked
more.
that before, but when you said it, that was the word. I'm like, it's grit. And that's so much of my story that runs through this, is the resilience factor. I mean, I wasn't born with resilience. I had to dig deep. I had to be gritty. I had to get through stuff. I had to pull myself back up so many times I can't even count. And I think if you can get that in you somehow, some way, draw on that, as I think it's all somewhere in there in all of us, that will get you through, whether you're just trying to achieve a new goal or you're trying to start a new business or you're trying to do something great in life. You're gonna get knocked down, you're gonna get frustrated, you're gonna want to give up. But if you can draw on that grit and then that resilience that's within you, it will pull you through.
I love that you said those words because I think so many people in our world, in our society, think more along the line of tangible skill.
Yeah.
And I believe that grit and resilience and what I like to call and I'm not the creator of this, but what I like to call the unseen hours, right? The unseen moments are what drives the person to eventually get that tangible skill or create something bigger than the skill. And
Yes.
I think it's so powerful that as you described that, because I think of my childhood and when I think of my basketball career, I was not the biggest kid by any means. I was honestly one of the smaller kids the whole time. But and I wasn't the most skillful. I couldn't jump the highest. I wasn't the best. But what I was I was willing to work the hardest. I was willing to put in the extra hours. I wasn't willing to let someone else dictate how good I could be or how bad I was going to be. I was going to go out there and do everything. And that's what you're talking about when it comes to grit and resilience. I think entrepreneurship is so much about that,
Mhm.
especially when something goes wrong, right? Because in order to redesign, right, you're not redesigning something that is already working so great, right? You're redesigning because there's something that happened that's either forcing you or suggesting to you that maybe a shift is the right thing and
Yes.
redesigning. So I would love to kind of as we start wrapping this up, is there anything else from the book that maybe we haven't yet discussed that you would really like to impart on the readers before we wrap this up?
Hmm. I think just knowing that I really tried to paint the picture of I'm just a everyday normal person. Like I think sometimes people go, well, that's nice. Jake can do that, or Andrea can do that, or whoever. And it seems unattainable. And I really hope that I conveyed how just average, everyday human being I am. And that to me, if I can do this, anybody can. And no
Mm,
matter what the goal is, if it's amazing and huge and you're gonna do this giant thing, awesome. But if you're just like, I want to get healthy so I can chase after my kids and have more energy, great, do that. So I think that's really just what I want to impart is this is for anyone who wants to achieve anything or just improve, level up their life for them, and that it is possible.
yeah, that's a great message, and I don't know if you meant to say it or not, but you talk about painting the picture,
Yes.
okay? And this, for those of you that are not watching this, you're listening to audio, the cover of Andrea's book is a paintbrush. And so when you talk about painting the picture, we literally have a visual representation on your cover, and I love that. So Andrea, how can people connect with you? How can they follow you? How can they work with you? Tell us where to go.
Awesome. Yes. Everything is easy to search by my name. My website is AndreaMerican.com, and that has social links to Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn and all the things. So very easy to click on those and find me on all your favorite platforms. I love coaching entrepreneurs, and I do consulting as well, but really like writing this book was for any person. And then that was what was so important to me in the journey.
Awesome. That's amazing. And so everyone grab a copy of Andrea's book. And fun fact for everybody before we wrap up here is Andrea's first name is obviously starts with the letter A and her last name is Merican. And we were talking about this before the episode. And if you just do her first initial last name, we're just a true American here.
That's
So
right.
so we love that. We love, I mean, I'm a guy who loves like random things like that. So that's amazing. But for everybody, grab a copy of Redesign How to Create Success on Your Own Terms by Andrea Merican. And Andrea, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. It was such an honor, and I'm just so happy that I was able to be a part of this journey with you and your company. Your team is amazing.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And you heard her. Our team is amazing. If you want to write a book, come write a book with us. We got you covered. No, but all jokes aside, here's what I do want to say is to wrap this up, I want to give you guys a challenge. Andrea talked today a little bit about savoring, about celebrating the things that allow her to enjoy the journey in the pursuit of success. And so here is two challenges within one bigger challenge that I have for you, which is this. Ask yourself the very simple question. What is your definition of success? Now, it's a simple question. It doesn't mean the answer is going to be simple. This might require work and time and meditation and thoughts and a couple different days of really reflecting on it. But number one is ask yourself, what is your definition of success? And number two is, what are you doing on a daily basis that allows you to enjoy the journey in the pursuit of living that life? If you do that exercise mixed with reading Andrea's book, you're going to be off to an amazing start. Your year is going to up level, your life will up level, and ultimately you're going to be more fulfilled. So that's what I have for you today, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.